adore my 64, my Commodore 64.
Hi there, and welcome to a top 10 from the Commodore 64 Appreciation Society. In this one, we'll be browsing through the December 1983 issue of Compute magazine and running down the top 10 Commodore games that were advertised based on how they are rated at lemon64.com. I love Compute for many reasons. The type-in programs, the technical articles, but also the ads. When I was a kid, I would tear into new issues like I was a starving man at a buffet looking for the next batch of games to drool over. We didn't have the internet to tell us what was happening. We only had word of mouth and magazines. Every issue is like a time capsule, and not just for the hairstyles. Browsing through the pages shows us what was new and hot and what was coming just around the corner. So here we are in December 1983. 'Tis the season to buy your dad that computer tie he's always wanted, but also hopefully to find a great new game or two under the Christmas tree. In total, 49 Commodore 64 games were advertised in this issue, covering a wide range of genres. There are a few classics in here, but interestingly, none made it to Lemon 64's Top 100 Games list. But this makes some sense. The 64 was still new, and developers were still learning how to make great games for it. Also, why couldn't anyone hold a joystick properly in the 80s? Starting off our list at number 10 is Bristles. Rated a solid 7.39, it's a platformer published by First Star Software. In the game, you control a guy named Pete the Painter, and your goal is to paint the wall of 8 houses within a time limit while avoiding a range of enemies. It's simple and fun arcade action. And of course, in grand 80s style, the kid in the ad is doing absolutely everything wrong with those Atari joysticks. Save New York is next up at number 9. Published by Creative Software, it's a shoot 'em up where you try to save New York from a bunch of spider-looking aliens. Personally, I love this one. Buildings can be destroyed and gameplay takes place over the city as well as in the subways. The ad itself is brilliant and is very much of the time. Amazing illustrations for both titles with absolutely no hint of what the games actually look like. At number 8 we have Drol, published by Bruderbund. This is one that I'm not too familiar with, but it looks like a lot of fun. You play a robot in a 4-story maze, saving animals and avoiding enemies. It received terrific reviews when released, and I've added it to my must-play list. It's amazing how many publishers were advertising multiple games. They all seem to be in a race to get as many titles out there as possible, knowing that some would stick. We interrupt this top 10 list for what might be the most 80s computer ad ever. From the color scheme, to the company logo, to the furniture itself, this is just a perfect representation of what computing looked like in 1983. Back to the top 10, we have a great ad by Datasoft at number 7, O'Reilly's Mine, which gives me serious Dig Dug vibes. In the game, you control a miner named O'Reilly who must travel through his mine to capture buried treasure while avoiding onrushing water and monsters. It's fun and has a very solid rating of 7.61. Also in this ad are a couple of arcade ports for Puyan and Zaxxon. This version of Zaxxon wasn't available for the 64, but Puyan was, and it's rated quite highly as well. Arcade games were often seen as the pinnacle of gaming in 1983, and bringing our favorite titles to home consoles and computers was big business. Beachhead comes in at number 6. Published by Access Software, it's one of the first true classics for the Commodore 64. The game throws you into the Pacific in the thick of World War II, where you control warships and tanks as you attempt to smash through the enemy's defenses. In this ad, the MSRP is listed at $34.95, which equates to about $110 today. Games have always been pretty expensive. Coming in at number 5 and rated just slightly higher than 8 on Lemon 64 is Sentinel, published by Synapse Software. Synapse was a short-lived publisher who released other great games like Blue Max and Seamus before being sold to Bruderbund in '84. Sentinel is like an enhanced version of the Atari classic Star Raiders. You're trying to defend your solar system by shooting down enemies. All the while, you need to carefully manage fuel levels and damage to your ship. It's a terrific game. And speaking of terrific, take a look at the art in this ad. There are no screenshots of the actual games, of course, but come on, this is great. We interrupt this countdown so you can appreciate just how far we've come. Here's a 24K expansion module for the VIC-20 being sold for the rock bottom price of $99, or about $320 today. It's fascinating to compare this with what we have available now. 1 gigabyte of RAM currently sells for less than $5. In 1983, that same amount of memory would have cost over $13 million at the prices in this ad. We've come a long way. Alright, back to the top 10. At number 4, we have Flight Simulator 2 by Sublogic. This was a truly groundbreaking release and began to give us glimpses of what the future of gaming looked like. Major innovations in Flight Simulator 2 included solid backgrounds instead of wireframes, real-world scenery for a few select locations, variable weather, full instrumentation, and the ability to purchase expansion discs. Flight Simulator 2 is a true classic. Our third-ranked game is frankly a bit of a surprise. The Wylde is the third part in Screenplay's Warrior of Roz series, which also includes Dungeon, Cave, and Ziggurat. It's a fantasy RPG series that mostly seems to have slipped under the radar, but in general has very high ratings. On Lemon 64, The Wylde is rated 8.29, which is excellent. The ad is pretty unique as well, but I'm not sure that it screams fantasy RPG to me. As a kid who loved Dungeons & Dragons type games, I likely didn't even notice it. Rated number 2 is another classic, Jumpman. Released by Epix in 1983, Jumpman is a game that needs no introduction to 64 users. In the game, you control a guy named Jumpman who is trying to save a Jupiter base from being blown up by terrorists. Your mission is to climb and jump your way through 30 increasingly difficult levels, defusing bombs while avoiding various hazards. It's fast, fun, and challenging. The ad is great too, and is very much in line with other Epix ads from back in the day. This one would immediately have caught my attention, and I probably had to wipe some drool off the page. We interrupt this countdown to talk to you about a brand new type of service that you can use with your modem. It's called Compuserve, and it's a private network where you can get the latest business news, chat on bulletin boards, and play games. It supports up to 2400 baud speeds, but if you even have a modem in 1983, let's face it, it runs at 300, which is slow. Really slow. We're talking over 2 days to download a single MP3, and that's only if no one picks up the phone and wrecks your connection. We've come a long way. And the number 1 honor goes to Enchanter by the mighty Infocom. In fact, the Infocom ad mentions a number of their games, and 8 of them have ratings above 8 on Lemon 64. Enchanter was originally supposed to be Zork 4. In it, your goal is to defeat the evil warlock Krill by solving puzzles and defeating enemies. There are no graphics at all in Enchanter, which is similar to all other Infocom titles. Text-based games like this are a relic of the early days in computing. Early computers didn't have enough horsepower to display rich, detailed graphics, so instead, some developers would present games in a text-only format, almost like interactive novels, and Infocom was the undisputed master of the genre. There we have it, the top 10 Commodore 64 games as advertised in the December 1983 issue of Compute. I hope you've enjoyed this walk through the past. If you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribe. If you have any memories of these ads or the games themselves, drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.